Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. The Rutherglen and Hamilton by-election date has not yet been set, but it looks like all parties are pushing for the 5th of October. They want a very early one, presumably because the SNP know an early one, they're going to lose it anyway, but if they get it early, it's done, it's dusted, it's away, people will start forgetting about it before they all go off and have their annual jolly that they call the SNP conference, where all the weird people turn up to admire and clap at a bunch of losers. So it's going to be moved on the first day back after parliamentary recess. It'll go through the motions very, very quickly. They have to get the date agreed and then let the local council know so they can close the schools and things. So there's going to be no hanging around, but you can see why the SNP want it done quickly. If they drag it out and delay it, it's going to run into their conference season, and that'll just hand a bit more power to their opposition. If the opposition are at conference when they see that the SNP lose, it will be just a major bit of momentum for Labour or something. So yeah, they're playing the let's get it over and done with, and perhaps people will forget about it very, very quickly. Isn't going to work. We're not going to forget about it because we know how awful they are. Anyway, go in and have a look at this. Here goes. So, here we are. Rutherglen and Hamilton West by-election set to take place in October as SNP MP confirms timeline. Well, it more or less had to be October. I think the latest it could possibly have been legally was like the first week, the first Thursday in November. But nobody really wanted it to go that late. And so basically it was it had to be some point in October, logistically. And they've gone for the very earliest possible date, simply so that they can, like I say, get people to see it. They lose, they move on, they forget about it. Anyway, David Linden also said breaking up the union would be front and centre of the Nat campaign at a time households are struggling with the cost of living crisis. Oh yes, because everything's got to be independence. The world's falling apart, the NHS is falling apart, they haven't got enough policemen, the economy's broken, transport, communications, you name it, everything falling apart. And they are going to concentrate on independence. What a bunch of losers. And of course the trouble with David Linden is, and you can't be guilty by association, but it does make you wonder, because he is the cousin of Jordan Linden, and we all know the problems Jordan is undergoing at the moment with all that police investigation into the many accusations that he was a very naughty boy with the touchy-feelies and a possible grooming charge hanging over his head. And of course there's David Linden, who in no way is connected with any of that at all. Not even going to suggest that he was involved in the massive cover-up which is also being investigated. It goes all the way up to Peter Murrell, as it happens. Anyway, an SNP MP has confirmed the Rutherglen and Hamilton West by-election will be called as soon as Westminster reconvenes, paving the way for an October vote. Margaret Ferrier was booted out by voters after being handed the 30-day common suspension for breaking the COVID rules. We know that, done the video first thing this morning. Actually, last night as well. Just did the update this morning. That triggered a recall petition, which was signed by over 11,000 people, comfortably reaching the 10% threshold, and so she is out. And they are having a vote, so it's only a question of when. Now, there had been speculation they would try and push it beyond the party conference, which starts on October the 15th. However, the SNP social justice spokesman at Westminster, David Linden, confirmed the necessary process would begin as soon as Parliament returns from its recess on September the 4th. Because they want to get it in, done and dusted, don't they? Speaking to Good Morning Scotland, he said the SNP Chief Whip and bully boy Brendan O'Hara will move the writ on the first week that Parliament returns from summer recess. That's the earliest possible point that we can do it, and we aim to do that and have the by-election as quickly as possible. He's probably also hoping that there is a recall Parliament during the holidays. Something major happens, they can recall Parliament, then they can just put that writ in there. They'll allow that. It is literally an on-the-nod writ, but they have to be in Parliament in order to do it. Asked about the potential for an election as early as October the 5th, he responded, yeah, so without going into technical details of it, what happens is the Chief Whip moves the writ, the Speaker then makes the writ, and at that stage it's up to the local authority, in this case South Lanarkshire, to do the kind of logistics in terms of closing schools for the polling day and things. But we'll certainly make sure it happens as quickly as possible. Yeah, they don't want this drawn out because they know they've got a very weak candidate, and the longer it's drawn out, the weaker she'll appear, and it gives the Labour Party more of a run up. Basically, they've got a stronger candidate, and it gives chance more people to ask more questions. Of course, with everything that's coming out, the longer it is, the more comes out, the less chance they have of getting it. Anyway, the seat will be an indicator of any shifting patterns in Scottish politics. Well, this is ahead of the next general election. I was going to say, given they've lost the last 2 votes at council elections, I think the direction of travel is already clear. It's likely to be in the second half of next year. The general election probably beginning of autumn next year, September, October time. Scottish Labour have high hopes of taking the seat from the Nats, with the local candidate Michael Shanks launching his campaign on Wednesday morning amid narrowing polling figures. He's almost certain to win it, in fact. Tactical voting could play a key role, with Labour to help to take support from Conservatives eager to give the SNP a bloody nose. This has been said all along. There's going to be massive tactical voting in the next election. Not that the Conservatives want the Labour Party to get in, they just want to get the SNP out. And in areas where it's likely to be a Conservative win, Labour voters, where a Conservative candidate can take out SNP, Labour voters could vote Conservative for that very same reason. And I think it is good that both the Labour and the Conservative do this. They look at their local constituencies, say, right, okay, I want to vote Labour, I'm a Labour supporter, but Labour, even with my vote, aren't going to get in. But the Tories have got a good chance to get in. I'll vote, hold me nose, I'll vote Tory just this once, just to get the SNP out. After all, it's only going to be for one election. After that, you should be okay, because after that, with so few MSPs and MPs, the SNP will be running out of money very, very quickly. And of course, that means that they won't be able to basically bounce back following the election. They won't have the cash. Alex Salmond has called for a single independence candidate to run for the seat, while the Scottish Greens will likely step aside to aid their SNP allies, which is a shame. Mr Linden MP for the neighbouring Glasgow East constituency confirmed Skexit would be front and centre of the campaign for the SNP, rather than issues like the cost of living crisis, the NHS, the police, social care, the drugs problem, the economy, all the other things that actually matter. He added, as is always the case with the SNP, I mean, we're not backwards in coming forwards in terms of talking about our support for independence, because that's all you've got. You've got no other policies, you've got nothing that works, and indeed one only has to look around to see every single sign that all your policies heretofore have been sheer and utter failures. So that's why you can only ever talk about the one thing that you can talk about, which is independence. You sad, sad man. And I shall stop there and come up. So there we are, probably the 5th, possibly the 12th of October. Depends on how quickly they can get things sorted. They don't want it going on in the middle of their conference. I'd prefer the 12th, because if they could lose on the 12th, that's the Thursday, and then start their conference on the Monday and be going into conference with a massive, embarrassing defeat, which would make the conference season a little bit interesting. Especially as all those backbenchers are sitting there looking at Tumsy Yousaf and going, I'm going to be out of a job soon because of you, wanker. I do love it when parties get a bit tetchy with themselves. Doesn't matter the party. Tories love it. Tories are the worst for it, of course. They always say about the Tory Prime Minister, any Tory Prime Minister, the opposition are in front of you, but the enemy are behind you. It's great when you see it. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see here on the channel, please do hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and remember, wherever you are, vote anti-SNP. Don't vote for someone, vote against them. Goodbye.